In Acts chapter 9, we're going to see the conversion of Saul, this guy who was uttering threats, as it says in verse 1, with every breath, and he was going around, persecuting. In fact, as you read this section here, you're going to see that he really was even sort of ramping up his persecution. He really wanted to bring men and women, any Christian, back to Jerusalem in chains. But as he's going to Damascus on this persecution mission, you're going to read this for yourself, he meets Jesus, not face to face, but he hears a voice speaking to him, and Jesus said, "You're persecuting me, quit it, you're on the wrong side." And so basically Jesus blinds him right here. So Saul is blind now. He doesn't really know what to do, so he goes into Damascus, and he stays there for 3 days, and he didn't eat or drink. And verse 10 says that there was a believer there in Damascus named Ananias, and the Lord spoke to him in a vision and said, "Hey, Ananias," basically he says, "you're going to be the guy to go over and to talk to this Saul guy." And Ananias was pretty nervous about it because he had heard of Saul's reputation. But the Lord said, "Listen, go, for Saul is my chosen instrument to take my message to the Gentiles and to kings, as well as to the people of Israel. And I will show him how much he must suffer for my name's sake." And so basically Jesus is saying Saul's going to go from being the persecutor to the persecuted. He's going to go share the message of Jesus with Gentiles, non-Jews, and with kings, and even the people of Israel also. And this, by the way, we're going to see this come true in the chapters ahead as we continue to read Acts. But anyway, Ananias went, he found Saul, and he starts talking to Saul, and then it says instantly something like scales fell from Saul's eyes, and he regained his sight, and then he got baptized, and afterward he ate some food and regained his strength. I want to pause here and just make sure you understand something. Jesus sent a person, a Christian, a believer, Ananias, to finish the job with Saul. That's just the way he works. Jesus spoke to Saul himself, but Saul didn't end up coming to faith until Ananias came to him. And I think there's something significant there. That's just how Jesus works. He wants us to go and share our faith. Just some regular guy named Ananias. And he's the one that gets to help make Saul a disciple of Jesus, right? And so it says Saul stayed with the believers in Damascus for a few days, and then immediately, look at what it says, underline that word, immediately he began preaching about Jesus in the synagogue, saying, "He is indeed the Son of God." How confusing that must have been to the people in the synagogues. Well, wait a second, aren't you the guy who was saying that he isn't the Son of God? And now Saul is saying he is the Son of God. What an incredible witness. If you were a Jew and Saul comes in there and says that, I think you might really give it a second thought there. You might begin to follow Jesus. And in fact, it says a lot of people then ended up hearing the word and followed Jesus because of it. It says in verse 31, the church then had peace throughout Judea, Galilee, and Samaria, and became stronger as the believers lived in the fear of the Lord. And with the encouragement of the Holy Spirit, it also grew in numbers. Okay, so probably because Saul is not persecuting anymore, he's spreading the gospel, and so now the church has peace instead of persecution for at least a little bit right here. Church grows, everything's going great. And we're going to end this chapter with Peter traveling from place to place, and he comes to this place in the town of Lydda, and we're going to see that he performs a miracle there. He shares Jesus there, and chapter 9 ends with Peter staying there in a place called Joppa, and he's living with a guy named Simon, a tanner of hides, and it's going to be here when we turn the page to the next chapter where we are going to learn something really significant sort of in the theological life of the church. Okay, so we'll get to that in the next chapter, but for right now, you're ready to read Acts chapter 9. We'll see you tomorrow for the next one.